So here's the craziest thing of all. When I go through this, you will have never heard this in school. I promise you that no naturopath has been trained like this. They haven't. They know a lot. They know all about microbiology, histology, myology. But you know, the logic of one and one. No medical doctor's ever been taught about the highway. The most important highway of your life is your digestive tract. It always will be. And whether you know it or not, you've all been programmed to disrespect it to the point that you break it down. Leaky gut. Well, once you have leaky gut, did you ever ride over a highway that has tons of potholes? Well, that's what leaky gut is, and leaky gut's not leaky gut, it's leaky large intestine. Meanwhile, everybody talks about my stomach, and everybody thinks their stomach's down here. Oh, my stomach hurts. No, it's your large intestine. When you have a hiatal hernia, okay, you actually don't have a stomach problem. You have a diaphragm problem where you were pushing down with your diaphragm to have a bowel movement, because you never were taught about the highway and how to keep the traffic moving along properly. And because you didn't know how to keep the traffic moving properly, you didn't understand it was an assembly line and that everything needs to do its job in the right time. If you don't have digestion, you have putrefaction. And if you have putrefaction, you have rotting. So just know this, there are no diseases, just rotten people. Stinking thinking, and then rotten to the core. And that's why the biggest disease is in the pelvic floor. Because everybody's pooping in their pelvis, and the pelvis is just one big soup bowl. Oh wait, one big poop bowl. That's all it is. It's a big poop bowl. What you think is normal bowel movements and is a good bowel movement, I wouldn't want that for the world. You don't even know what a good bowel movement is. A good bowel movement is a lean, keen, toned core and feeling empty but solid. Do you understand? No bloating, no low back pain, no hip pain, no back spinal problems, no cysts, no fibrosis, no tumors, no bladder infections, no infertility, no prostate problems, no erection functional problems, no smelly problems down there, no urination problems. Once your plumbing starts to go and you're on your way out, just know that. Go take a look at everyone that you has passed on, or people that are passing on in your life. Ask them how their urination bowel movements are. But nobody's going to tell them that. Even natural health practitioners, there's a few of you here, and I guarantee you did not understand health, because some of you are not in very good shape and you're health practitioners. And no disrespect, but I wouldn't come to you. I'd go, wow, you can't give me what you ain't got, girl. Guy, you can't. I need someone that loves, honors, and respects himself and actually understands about the human body, understands about food combining, understands about being patient with oneself, or you'll remain a patient for the rest of your life. Everyone that's sick has no patience. And we don't have patients, we have clients. We don't take people on as patients. Most patients are victims of a really poor educational program. They don't want to be sick. But then a lot of people will remain sick because it's the only way they can get the love and the attention that they need, because they believe that they don't deserve it. So you have to get it any way you can get it, because we can't live without love. But that's not what this talk is about right now. Every time that you think about food, your mouth will water. And remember what I said? Image is everything. If you don't have an imagination, you don't have a life. And you still have an imagination, but you gave it away. The psychos own all but 1 out of 10,000 people. 1 out of 10,000 people I would call a free spirit on this planet. We only would need 2 to 3% to actually have the whole matrix crumble. We can't even hit 2 or 3%. So everything is imagination. So with your imagination, or you smell food, your mouth waters, right? Yeah. Okay. So in knowing that, when we go to eat, so let's talk about eating before we get into the highway of life, which is basically about 30 to 33 feet long, depending on how tall you are or how small you are. Okay? So the first thing is, let's talk about etiquette. Let's talk about etiquette for yourself. You will never sit down and put any physical matter into your mouth when you're anxious. You'll never put any more physical matter in your mouth when you're tired. If you're eating because you're tired, you're rotting out. You never eat because you're tired. And most people are tired because they're dehydrated. Most people are tired because they haven't put a smile on their face all day. Most people are tired because they're not going to smile unless somebody tells a joke or they get the love that they need, yes or no. Otherwise, it's just piss off. I don't live like that. As soon as you have a slight smile on your face, your digestive tract will work properly. Okay, you'll digest properly, you'll assimilate, and you'll eliminate properly. You cannot sit down and engage yourself into eating physical matter when you're tired or have anxiety or you're upset. Do belly button therapy, connect to your breath, have a warm shower, have a cold shower, whatever. You need to alter the environment. You need to change things up. Just think about this. The people that are the sickest are the people that react and attack. It doesn't take much to piss them off. And the people that are always demanding that everybody do what they need them to do. How's that? Those are the sickest people on the planet. So whenever you are not aligned or centered into yourself, you're dumping histamine, adrenaline, and cortisol. That's called hack. That's not true, Daryl. Yes, it is. Negative emotions will create a dripping of that. Fear, trauma, drama will create turning the tap on full. Like when we get scared, you better make sure it's a real tiger. Because if it's a real tiger, you're on the run. You've got 3 minutes, and that's why. Did you know that you can only dump adrenaline and cortisol for 3 minutes before you do brain damage? Before that you do damage to your joints, your organs, your tissues? Did you know that? And why is it like that? Well, because if you didn't get up that tree or down that hole within 3 minutes, you're already eaten by the tiger. And the problem is that we gave our imagination away a long time ago. Our imagination is now controlled by these psychos. You've shut down a long time ago. Listen, I had a shirt ripped right off my body when I was in grade 3 because I was daydreaming. I'm not kidding you. It's a good thing they couldn't break me. So you need to understand something. If you can get to the point that you no longer fear anything, That doesn't mean jumping off a cliff and diving onto a rock. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't fear anything on this planet. But because I unconditionally love myself, I make wise choices and high vibrational ones. So here's the deal. Think about all the times you sat down at your meal, tired or upset. You wasted the money. Oh, I eat organic. Yeah, look at you, look like crap. It doesn't matter if you eat organic, you've poisoned the food. Everything is frequency. Somebody that loves, honors, and respects himself could spray structured water on non-organic food, and if they actually connected to their breath, if they actually had a slight smile on their face, if they actually didn't take trauma to the table, if they actually drank all their solids and chewed all their liquids. So that means that you're going to chew your solids. You do know that you can eat 30% of the food you're eating right now if you were to chew it until it was a liquid. So, you know, when people were in those containment centers in war, everybody would get the same amount of crappy food. But those that would just suck on it until the enzymes broke it down, or those that would keep their mouth head forward and down and mix the saliva in with it and allow it to break it down, they survived. The others starved to death. You cannot eat like a dog. A dog's hydrochloric acid, okay, all right, is 400% stronger than a human being's. That's why they can engulf their food. We have to learn unconditional love and care for ourselves. That's what we're here for. And that would be patience for ourselves first and foremost. And then chewing that food. And remember something, the enzymes will only digest the outside surface of the food. So if you're going to take it down in chunks, you'll digest the outside and then it'll rot from the inside out. So now you're rotting. So that's where the gas comes from, the bloating, the low back pain, actually the hip surgery, the cysts, the bladder infections on a physical level, the endometriosis, the fibroids. I can prove all of this. Nobody will ever come up against me. There'll be no doctor that can come up against me. No natural practitioner will come up against me. One or two, and that's it. They might be pissed off that I share this information, and it seems like I'm cocky, and oh my God, I went to school for 12 years, and you're just going to stand there and do this? It doesn't really matter. I'm not trying to pull anybody's pants down. I'm trying to tell you that health is God-given, and a 6-year-old can understand it, and a 6-year-old can do the work that I do. So you better get that. They've made it that health is a mystery, right? Okay, and then medical doctors are the emperors, right? And we need to bow down. Don't ever bow down to anyone. Nothing. No one. Okay. So, you know, it's very important that the smaller the particle, the more you're going to absorb it. But let's not just forget about that. Let's make sure that when we sit down at that table, if you haven't got something nice to say, just keep your mouth shut. And the reality is, if you need to sit down at the table and you need to drink water, then that means you're dehydrated. Nobody should have to drink water or bring any kind of liquid to the table when you eat. If you wanted to sip, you can do it, but you're still making a big mistake. You're diluting the enzymes in your mouth. Remember something. Are you a river trying to get the logs down, or are you going to masticate the food until it almost is invisible to release the energy, the light, the frequency within it? And then, you know, they say that there's 4 food groups, right? There's only one. And what is that? Frequency. Frequency foods. That's it. There's only one, frequency foods. When you look at a food from now on, or a drink, you're going to look at it and go, how much light, how high is the frequency in this food? We are light energy, electrical, magnetic beings. And whether you want to believe this or not, don't you ever, 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 ever forget this. Not one bit of physical food ever went to making a physical body. It was only the light and the frequency that was in the food that actually created the body. And if you don't believe me, why don't you go take your clothes off and take a look at your body. You'll tell if you have a noodle body, a sugar body, a dairy body, or do you have a whole plant-based body? You can see the difference. But understand this, but without unconditional love, you're going to be fighting an uphill battle. If you hate yourself and you buy organic, and you buy the best organic, you're still going to get everything from a pimple to a tumor. Because you need to store that negative emotion somewhere. You just won't die as fast. You might even be able to turn it around quicker if you wake up to the fact that unconditional love is the only thing that matters. First and foremost to yourself, and then you can't do something to yourself without sharing it. That's how it goes. If you're miserable, what are you sharing? Your misery. If you're depressed, what are you sharing? Your depression. And there is no depression. There's just somebody that bought into the bullshit stories, created enough anxiety, and took the computer down and fried it out. And so the computer had to shut down. How long will the computer shut down? I don't know. You should have went on a 4-day holiday and went into the woods and hugged the trees and fall in love with the birds and the bees. You would have been back in 4 days. But now you go on antidepressants and then you become hooked on them, and then the only side effect of them is suicide or suicidal thoughts. And so now you're trying to get off of them. Yeah, I can assure you this, we are not the most intelligent species on this planet. Until we have the most intelligent belief systems, which are based on unconditional love and care for ourselves. So every time that you look at something, you want to make sure that it's the best because you're the best. I don't want nothing but the best, and I demand it. And understand something. You don't get your rights because you deserve them. You get your rights because you demand them. You get great food because you demand it. You get a great life because you demand it. You don't get on your knees and beg God, please. You don't swear at God either. But the reality is it's all waiting for you. But you need to take massive personal action. And without unconditional love, things won't be unconditional. They'll just be hovering in the air, waiting. And most of you they'll just wait there forever until you're ready to do that one thing. So let's get back to eating. So here it is. Food combining. Everybody's forgot that. Isn't it great that we can live our life like a buffet? Eat anything we want, combine it any way we want, and then we feel like crap. We feel like a garbage can. You do that, you do know that right now, 92% of the population has an autoimmune disease. 92%. That means that they are the walking dead or walking towards there. It is, you know what? How comfortable is it to be 40 pounds overweight? Nobody will ever notice. Nobody will ever notice that you've got 40 pounds of infection, inflammation, that your body's going like crazy to make fat cells to store this infection and inflammation because you had stinking thinking and you were programmable. Obesity is 10 pounds or more. Just know that. 10 pounds. That would mean that 98% of the population is obese. But since they changed it to 40 pounds, and when you go into your Perfect Day Guide, anybody go into the Perfect Day Guide yet and take a look at a real picture back in 1970 on the beach? Yeah. And now take a look at a real picture of it. I don't want to even go to the beach. And if I do, I already told you yesterday, I don't want anybody else on the beach. I don't want to know that my brothers and sisters are eating themselves to death and that they have no consciousness on what goes in their mouth. You know, most people only have 4 inches of consciousness when it comes to eating. Will it fit? And am I addicted to it? Well, they don't even ask that, they just do it. There's no new improved. Ready? All food corporations are owned by the tobacco industry or the petroleum industry. All of these industries have signed a pact with an entity on this planet. That entity lives off of pain and suffering. You don't matter shit. And guess what? You're proving it, aren't you? Told you things were going to get a little more heightened on the last 4 days. Because when you go here, when you leave from here, I need you to go out there and understand that I want you to be totally compassionate with everyone. If they don't want a perfect day consult and they don't want to change their diet, you will do whatever you can to help them. But don't push yourself on them. How hard has it been to make your partner, your children, your mother, your father believe in you? And I know that most of you are into health to a certain degree, but most of you haven't even practiced what you preach. But it's not your fault, because to love oneself unconditionally and care for oneself unconditionally, first and foremost, before anyone else or anything else, gives you a straight ticket to hell. In the mind of most people. Meanwhile, you're taking everybody down the road to hell with that idea. You got to stand up for yourself so you can be the light for your family. That's why you're really here. To find your authentic self so that you can lovingly honor and respect and protect yourself and not take anything personal again. God, if all I'm doing is looking after myself and I got people nagging at me because I'm selfish, really, where does that come from? So that's part of this whole eating right, living right, caring for yourself in a proper way. So just understand this, your government, every government, is using taxpayers' money to fund drive-thrus. More dairy, more sugar. That's your tax dollars. Don't believe me? Go do your homework. Just know this, Coca-Cola gets $4 billion from the United States government. Because what happened was is Coca-Cola very smart, very corrupt. And Coca-Cola stated, okay, that it would be racial discrimination if a poor person could not afford a Coke. When all the rich people drink Coke, and they showed the stats how many people drink Coke, and most people drink Coke, which is diabetic water. So anyways, they get $4 billion from the US government. Meanwhile, look at all the stuff that's going on over there. What, do you think the $4 billion could have gone somewhere else? So the reality is the government's not broken. It is what it is. So I'm not going to put it down because that's what it's supposed to do. But the reality is that you're on your own. You've always been on your own. And until you find your own self, your authentic self, you're never going to own. You'll just be on your own, struggling. So you're going to have to honor and respect yourself when nobody else will. And don't think that people are going to do it. And I know it's really difficult. The bigger the family and the more that you go family first, the more guilt you have if you don't eat everything they put on the table. I was raised that way. You better eat what's on the table. Even if it made me sick, I had to eat it. Because that was disrespectful to my elders, which they didn't deserve respect when they were beating up on a little spirit being. So food combining, never eat 2 proteins at a meal. It's real easy. Don't eat 2 different proteins at a meal. Never mix a protein with a starch, unless you're going to pack it full of enzymes. And how's the meat and potato man doing? How's he doing? Well, he comes home at night, he's exhausted, he sits at the table. He scoffs down his food, yes or no? Doesn't even chew it. He's like some ravenous dog. I'm not saying everyone, but you know that. Kevin, you ever been like that? Okay? So the reality is he's not chewing it, so big chunks are going down. He thinks there's another set of teeth down in his stomach, but there's not. And then he wonders why he's bloated. He's got headaches. He feels exhausted. Oh God, honey, do you want to go for a walk tonight? Oh, sure, babe. First 5 or 10 minutes into the meal, his glucose comes up because it needs to come up because he's been jacking himself with coffee and sugar and refined grains, which is called flour, because flour's like cocaine. Better watch out how much you want of that. So the reality is now he eats his meat and potatoes, and he's starting to feel better. Do you want to go for a walk? Sure do, honey. And before the meal's even over, he's exhausted. See, even when you eat, like, let's say, a healthy meal, it still takes 70% of your energy to digest your food. Now, if you're not food combining, and if you're eating cooked food, because the more you cook, the worse you look. The more you fry, the sooner you die. These are rules, not just little rhymes. Whole plant-based diet, people go, oh, I'm a vegetarian. Well, vegetarians aren't healthy. Not true vegetarians. They'll eat rice crackers and peanut butter and fake bologna and fake cheese and oh, God knows what else they'll put in their mouth. But vegetarianism is just another, it's going down the wrong road. I'd rather eat organically and eat animal products than be a vegetarian like most vegetarians are. They're very tired, aren't they? They don't have a lot of energy. Remember something, what we're always looking for is high frequency, impacted with light. So what has the highest light? Fresh and raw. Juicing. Concentrated nutrition. That's it. That's it. So don't mix a protein and a starch together. I mean, you can do it. But if you're going to do it, take enzymes, and 2 won't cut it. And it's not because my Digest Complete is the best digestive enzymes I could find. But if I go out and have a cooked food meal, I already told you this, I do 10 enzymes. And if there was fish in it, or if there's going to be some kind of meat in it, okay, fish, I'll do 1 hydrochloric acid capsule. You can get those from any drugstore or health food store, $7. Keep the HCl in your glove compartment, keep it at your office, and keep it at your home. Trust me when I say this. Keep HCl in there, and then digestive enzymes. Go find a good one. That's why we sell 1,000 in a bottle of digestive enzymes, because they don't go bad. And the reality is people need them. If I do a cooked food and it's not going to be combined properly, and if there's animal protein in there, okay, I'm going to put HCl. And if it's fish, 1. If it were meat, I'd go 2. And with HCl, what you're going to do is you're going to take that 5 minutes before the meal, 10 minutes before the meal, or just before the meal. In my home, I keep HCl in a bowl on the table. I'm not going to make a mistake. L'Oreal has HCl and digestive enzymes in a plastic container, and it stays in her purse all the time, wherever we go. We're not going to go and eat not correctly and go home and be bloated and feel sick, or be constipated, or fart on each other's legs. We're not going to do that, because it's okay to have a little bit of gas, but when you have a lot of it, you're rotting out. Remember something, the bigger you are, the more fat cells you have, the more toxic you are. on an emotional and physical level. And the more water that you retain, the more inflammation you have. Because the water is like the fire truck going to put the fire out, and inflammation means you're on fire, inflame. So with inflammation, we get dehydration, and then we get mutation. The dehydration is the stiff joints, is the you need your bone-on-bone surgery, okay? The stenosis in the spine, which is BS. And we prove it everywhere, and so do all my practitioners by giving a money-back guarantee. You know, you can tell me that I'm full of it, but who's giving the money-back guarantee? You? The chiropractors? The massage therapists? The so-called dietitians? The so-called nutritionalists? The naturopaths? Are they doing it? Let me see them do it. Remember something, you can't get away with that unless you're training people and not just treating them. So that means you're going to have to give them all the power that you believe you have that makes you smart, and you've got to give that to them. That's the only way you can give a money-back guarantee. Which means now we have to start sharing our knowledge and not come from a poverty consciousness and thinking we're something special when we should be taking our special and giving it to everyone and gifting everybody with it. Okay, so fruit should be eaten alone in most cases, especially if there's a problem. If you, you know how you do fruit salad? It's not wise, okay? Don't be mixing your acid fruits, okay? All right? Too many acid fruits together and too many acid fruits in with the subacid fruits. It's not a good situation. Remember something, even though it's fruit, let me ask you a question. Can you do one thing at once better, or should I give you 3 jobs in the same room and you can do them both, all of them at the same time? Why are you so hard on your digestive tract? Because you're hard on yourself. If you love yourself, you're really, you're going to understand that. I mean, if you want to find out what your problem is, why aren't you checking in with yourself 20 minutes after a meal, half hour after a meal? You should feel energetic. You shouldn't have low back pain. You should not feel bloated. You should not feel dull in the head. You should not feel grumpy. Why do we eat? If we eat for energy, why is it that 2 out of 3 meals, you're more tired after the meal than when you started? Did you get that? So I think that food is a good way to create energy in the human body, but only if the food had energy in it. How much light's in it? How high a frequency is it? And remember something, minerals are the key for everything. They're first and foremost, okay? Minerals are always first and foremost. That's why the soil's depleted of them. And that's why, with our humic fulvic, people start taking it, change their lives. Because the humic fulvic has 70 micronutrients in it. And it also goes in and pulls out the heavy metals, the chemicals, the parasites, the funguses. It takes care of everything and it locks it down. Way better than charcoal, way better than zeolite. That's just proven. Just go do your research and you'll see. But what we're doing today is this. Just know this. We could have another 100,000 practitioners this year, and we wouldn't even put a dent in it. And the only time that we will ever see that we will be out of a job is when people have unconditional love and care for themselves, and they're not going to the supermarket. BlackRock and Vanguard own every supermarket in Australia. You make sure you make friends with a farmer. They are going to shut you guys down. And also, I have never seen such outrageous prices in a grocery store. No, they're blowing me away. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. If it gets really tough, just move to Mexico, where no GMOs are allowed, no chemtrails are allowed. So when you go to buy fruits and vegetables, just know this. It doesn't say organic, it just is. It just is. And guess what? You're paying about 25 to 30% what you're paying here. Is that right? So they're getting ready. Make sure that you're ready. At least have alternatives that you can go to.
Grow our own is a good one.
Growing your own is a good thing, and you've got the weather. So that should have been happening. But anyways, listen to me, and I don't really care for gardening, but I make sure that I always look after myself. I cover my bases. Do you have value? Do you have value? What do you do that has value? Well, I'll tell you something. If you are, don't get me wrong, but if you know about proper nutrition, advanced water fasting, how to detoxify the body, and if you've got Wolf non-surgical under your belt, you don't need money. You don't need money. Oh man, my husband, he can't get out of bed. You go and you do Wolf non-surgical. They don't know that it's just a knot of scar tissue and displaced calcium. Now he's out of bed. What's that worth to them? You just got yourself fruit and vegetables for a month. Understand something. What is your value right now? What is your value going into this new world? What do you think is going to become obsolete? Maybe you. You know, there's certain things we can't change and that are out of our control. But I don't know, I've never ever felt that all of this was really bad for me. It may be up my game, it may be change my mind, which might be a good thing to change your mind about something. Okay? What's this got to do with digestion and everything? If you're loving your life and you're at peace, what does that mean? When's the last time you tried to eat and you had anxiety? Remember something, when you've got anxiety or you're in fight or fright or flight, how many people know that 60 to 70% of your energy and your blood supply from your core goes to your arms and legs? So meanwhile, you're sitting at the table and somebody's telling you another bullshit fear story. You just sent all your energy to your arms and legs and you're still eating. And now you're not eating peacefully. And for those of you that have come from a family that you felt you had to eat faster, there wasn't enough food, put the food in your mouth with the spoon, with the fork, and then put it on the table. And don't pick that up. Don't pick that up until you've made that food into a liquid in your mouth, and then you've swallowed it. And guess what? You'll eat 1/2 to 1/3 less, and you'll feel totally satisfied. And you won't be bloated, and you won't be exhausted, and you will go for a walk. You'll go for a swim. You'll go, wow, I don't want to waste it. Netflix isn't going to own me again tonight. Okay? So, like I said, we can smell food, we can see it, or we can imagine it, and our mouth is going to water. Your job is to get all of those enzymes that are made in your mouth, wrapped around the smallest food particles in your mouth before you swallow, and it goes down to your stomach. That's your job. And guess what? And please don't take this wrong, but the food that we eat has and knows that it could be eaten. Because whether you believe it or not, the food that you eat also wants to become higher vibrational. So it becomes part of you. Its frequency, its spirit. Come on, you listen to the Plant Cathedral. What did it sound like they were saying? Holy, holy. Sounded like there was instruments. Sounds like they were singing. Their spirit goes into you. So what do you think? Would you like the spirit of a donut or a sprout? Would you like the spirit of a noodle? Would you like the spirit of a lentil or a dead animal? How many people here go out and sometimes they'll eat salmon? Because everybody's salmon crazy. You do know that if it doesn't say wild, that it's farmed. You do know that means it has worms in it and pus and eggs. You do know that it's full of antibiotics now, don't you? Please, but you'll still order it and your mind will just block it because I just like it so much. So you've got 4-inch consciousness. If we stop buying it, they'll stop growing it. Okay? I'm not going to go through all the foods, but I definitely know that I will take on the vibration of whatever I eat, whoever I hang around with. Right? Okay. So anyways, we're going to chew the food, we're going to swallow, it's going to come down to the stomach. How many people know that your stomach is the guard dog? If that guard dog's sleeping, you're done. You're done. That guard dog has the ability to take a little bit of mold, chemicals, bad bacteria, and worms. The hydrochloric acid will neutralize it. But wait a minute, what if you didn't chew your food? Wait a minute, what if you were stressed out? Because we know that when you have anxiety and you're stressed out, that you only dump 20% of the hydrochloric acid in your stomach. 80%, okay, because energy is dissipated to the arms and legs. And don't forget that every time that you stress out and you're not running, okay, if you stress out, totally stress out and you're dumping adrenaline and you run, you'll feel tired, but no headache, no exhaustion. I mean, you'll recuperate just like this because you use the adrenaline as rocket fuel. But most people, they're watching, oh, I don't do news anymore. I watch alternative news. It's scaring the shit out of them just as bad, right? But even at the table, if you've got anxiety, right? Understand something. If you're not up and moving those arms and those legs, that will be like acid. It will eat away your nervous system. It will create scar tissue. It'll pull calcium out of your bones. Okay, it will totally exhaust you. It will give you headaches. Now tell me something. When you're feeling good, do you treat yourself better in your family? So seeing most of you that, not most of you, but most of the population feels crappy 90% of their life. So they treat their family like what? Crap. Oh, but I love them the best I can. I love them totally. Well, I know you love them totally as much as you love yourself. Did you get that? Here we go back to self again. So the reality is this, is it's not even that you're not going to digest your food because you're stressing out at the table. But now, because you dumped all that adrenaline and cortisol and you're not running, now you're going to be stiff as a board and exhausted. And why is it that we can only be stressed out for 3 minutes? If you're not back to normal in 3 minutes, I don't care if a bomb goes off. You've got 3 minutes to go, but you better get back here. That tumor, that autoimmune disease was caused because you didn't get back in time. You didn't bring yourself back to center in time. You're only sick and look sick because you are sick. You got sick thoughts. You actually believe that if you worry for your children, you worry for your husband, you worry for your wife, you bitch about the world and all its problems, and you keep talking about it, something's going to make it change. That's wrong. Now you're not digesting anything. Why are you spending all this money? And look what you're doing. You're terrorizing everybody around you. So, God, we only got to the stomach, Daryl. You're not getting very far. I want to emphasize this because when your patients, clients come into you, you're going to say to yourself, okay, what condition are they in? Not what condition do they have. Because the condition they're in, it gave them the condition they have. The condition they're in is a condition that they have now. Their personality created their reality, but it's not their personality. It's whatever belief systems that their parents told them to go to. And their parents are part of the personality, the systems where they told you to go and learn what they thought you should learn. That's what you are. And then you're only as good as the 5 main people you hang around with right now. How's that looking? Would you like to trade them in? You can't up your game unless you let things go. I didn't say push off a cliff. I said let things go. If you want to, you got to bring new things in to have a new life. If you want to keep everything that you've had all your life, and if nobody changes around you, what changes are you making? Okay, all right. So anyway, so now we're gonna hopefully chew the food. It's coming down here. These are called rugae. They work like a washing machine. Swish, swash, to get the hydrochloric acid and the pepsin all mixed in with the food to prepare it. So the guard dog's gonna get rid of anything infectious. And then we're gonna break it down so when it comes in past the stomach valve into the small intestine, it's going to be ready because, let me just say this, because this is 22 feet long. The yellow part, that's your small intestine. 22 feet long. This is 5 to 7. Anybody that's overweight and obese, you have your large intestine is an extra foot longer to 2 feet. You see these hostras? You have no muscle. These are muscles. Isn't this something? These are muscles. Okay? And when you've got that paunch belly, you look like you're pregnant, you're not. When it's hanging down over your belt, okay? That's because you have no tone left, so you have no muscles left in here. Bye-bye. You're gonna leave now. And you know what? Do you know how hard you have to work to feel good, to be nice, to not be grumpy? Trust me, Santa is not a nice guy. Okay, he has definitely got a really bad virus called gas ass. Okay, all right. Okay, so once the food comes down to the stomach, we're hoping that everything went okay. It's going to come into the. Now why do you think you have an ulcer? It's a bacterial problem. Hydrochloric acid is low. You're swallowing all your stress. Okay, this is where, believe it or not, if you had an ulcer in your stomach, it was bleeding, I wouldn't do it. I'd be trying to eat foods that are soothing, nothing irritating. I'd be learning the rules of unconditional care, right? That'd be cool. And but once that happens, I would do therapeutic vomiting and wash that out. You'll know when you've washed and healed your stomach because you won't have any more troubles. And understand this, okay? So we have the diaphragm coming across here, and most people are always pushing down on the diaphragm every day and they don't even know it. You've been doing it for so long. How many people know that the subconscious is so amazing, but it can only create the belief systems that are in it. And that's why, believe it or not, you take a whole life coach course or something like that. You don't have to take my course, take other courses too. But if you can't go in there and get rid of the belief systems that you got from 0 to 7, you had no filter. From 0 to 7, you have no filter. The way that mommy and daddy loved each other, the way that mommy acted when you were in her tummy, everything that went on all the way to age 7, it's a dirty trick. It's a setup. And just know that. I don't give a crap what anybody says. It's a setup. You know, I'm not saying he's wrong, but Bruce Lipton says the reason why you don't have a filter is because you've got to learn all the rules. So you got to take them in really quick or your family might just get rid of you or it'll be lots of trouble. I call BS on that. I'm telling you that the human brain was manipulated and we were manipulated. So from 0 to 7, whatever happens, we'll take in and we'll use those as prominent, dominant beliefs. And we will be corrupted for the rest of our life to the point that we are high vibrational spirit beings being created by God Almighty and we're sick. How can we be sick? I was sick until I didn't have sick beliefs. Did you know that? I only had energy like the majority of the population until I was no longer like them. There it is. Don't follow the herd. Don't follow the herd. They're not going to a nice place. Okay? All right? Anything that the majority of the population does is a lie. And if it's not a lie, it's so low vibrational that they think they're going to be there. I hope I'll get well. When I get this, I'll be happy. When I do this, I'll be happy. Is that the majority? They're never freaking happy. That's why they have to drink toke, smoke, overeat, do drugs, and then take prescription drugs to shut off all feelings to the brain, even though they're still on fire, even though their body's still being tore apart, but at least they don't have to feel it anymore. And that's why from drugs we go to surgery, from surgery we go to more drugs and more surgery. And did you ever notice the people that visit the doctors the most have the most surgery and the most potent drugs? There could be a clue. All right, so now every time you push down on your diaphragm, where do you think your hemorrhoids come from? They come from pushing down on your diaphragm. And also, you have to push down because you just didn't drink enough water. If you drank like a woman needs 3 quarts of structured warm to hot water, a man needs 1 gallon to 5 quarts a day. If you're doing vegetable juicing, that all counts in part of the liquid. And people can say whatever they want. People are just ridiculous. Well, do you think I'll drown? Do you think I'll burn out my kidneys? Your kidneys love it. The more liquid that goes through your kidneys, the less chance you have a kidney disease, the less chance you have of kidney stones, the less chance you have a bladder infection, the less chance you have a pelvic infection, inflammation, mutation. Got it? So water is really important. And like I said again, I'll tell you this, don't be drinking at your meals. And those of you out there that drink alcohol at your meals, bye-bye. Nice knowing you. You're going down. You're going out quicker. You're going out quicker. Alcohol is pure sugar. I'm not really that hungry. I'm sure you're not. And just know this, that if it's not organic wine, it has 125 chemicals. A friend of mine who owns Summerhill Winery, okay, and he has organic wines, it would cost him $60,000 a year to put chemicals on the wine, on the plants, on the grapevines. And because he doesn't do that, okay, to be organic, he has to give $60,000 to the government every year. Okay? All right. Yeah. There's a government inside a government, and that's why there's never enough money. And that's why you break away from the financial system, right? And that's what I did. Yeah. If you can't do something like Puerto Rico, where you can buy a corporation and just come down to 4% tax, go find something else better. Play the same game that these psychos do. That's what they do. Right? Don't get angry. Okay? Stay calm and strategize like they do against us. Okay? All right. Okay, so now we're going to get into the small intestine. Just know this, that if you do therapeutic vomiting and you do black gold daily cleansing tea twice a day, and you do the ultimate coffee enema, your small intestine heals. You got to get the front door, which you could call it the mouth, but actually I like to call the front door the stomach, right? If anything gets past the front door. Well, see, when I say front door, I mean if you actually had logical thought, we wouldn't have to worry about what's coming into here, would we? But we're not logical at all. We're so programmable because the brain is just a computer, and from 0 to 7, I did tell you that they stuck in their programs. Why do you think you hurt yourself and your lovers? Okay, so where was I? Yeah, okay, so if you looked after your stomach and you looked after the large intestine, everything will heal in the small intestine. And everything that has itis on it just means inflammation, whether it's colitis or ileitis or arthritis or ulcerative colitis or sinusitis or... And understand this, they're never going to say you've got inflammation of the sinus. They're going to say sinusitis, because guess what? You're just too stupid to be able to cure something like that. You're too stupid to cure colitis. And when I say cure, you already know that there's no cures. There's just a perfect day that you repeat every day. There's just a perfect moment that you stay in it and you have unconditional love for yourself. There are no cures. It's just the choices you make from the time you open your eyes until you close them that decides everything. I just love my life. I almost wanted to swear and use the F word. But I am just so ecstatic about my life, you know? Like, I'll be honest with you. I don't know how I do what I do and keep going like I go, but I just love my life. It's just, you know? And I'm realizing that I'm doing more and more. I'm supposed to do less and less. I should have retired if I played the game. I should have been in retirement 3 years ago. And I'm just getting started. Really bad sales pitch they have. Okay, so when the foodstuffs come into the small intestine, they better be small particles. There's little hairs in there called villi. And those villi pick up the small nutrients and take them in. So just know the people that are always pissed off and reacting and drinking alcohol every day and doing sugar every day and doing flour, which I like to call cocaine as well, and taking any new and improved foods, that is actually causing the hairs to be brittle. And you can get autoimmune disease in the small intestine, but it happens in the large intestine more. And autoimmune disease is this. You ready? In your small and large intestine, you only have one cell thick in the lining. That gets replaced every day, but you'll damage it by burning it out continually. Now, here's what happens. This is how it should be, nice and tight like this, right? So in there it should be nice and tight because it's only one cell thick. It wants to stop everything that shouldn't come in and allow other things that need to come in. But the problem is inflammation, okay, tears things apart. So what happens is these tight junctions open up. So now you can get parasite, food particles, chemicals, all kinds of stuff. That's what you call autoimmune disease. And we call that having a screen door in a submarine. This will all heal, but you have to reduce the longer and stronger you've done this, the more damage you've done. Okay, and the older you are. Because you know this. You could pound back the alcohol. And if you've got any chronic illness, you can't do more than 2 or 3 drinks, or you pay for it. And if you can do more than 2 or 3 drinks, then you're an alcoholic that is numbed out, and you're a zombie, which means that you're a hell of a lot of fun not to be with. Okay, so we can have those tight junctions open up in the small intestine, but it happens more here. So this can be repaired. They say that the hairs won't grow back, but they don't need to. You just need to be more efficient. You know, you could have 30% of the little villi in your small intestine, and if you had a whole plant-based diet and you did juicing, and you didn't tie yourself up in knots, and if you didn't swallow bullshit, Okay, if you didn't have action, reaction, if you didn't have a short fuse because you're having a tantrum all your life, and you know that if you have a tantrum long enough and strong enough, maybe you'll get your way. Oh, you'll get your way all right. You'll be away. Okay. So, think about this. Mouth, stomach, 22 feet. I'm going to tell you something. Yes, we are amazing. But they have messed with the human body over the last 150,000 years. I'm not going to get into the whys and the hows, but they have. You think that genetic programming is just starting now. It is so easy to tell a story and sell it here. I mean, most people believe that they have this special book or something, and no human has ever altered it. Oh, no, God wouldn't let that happen. You need to understand something. On this planet, you are taught to do one thing, and that's unconditionally love and care for yourself, and then shine that light on the world. And once you get to that position, that's when the game starts, and it becomes an adventure. And that's when you're winning. That's when you're loving it, really loving it. Not, I can't wait till the weekend so I can drink, toke, smoke, okay, eat garbage and celebrate. It's been a hard week. Is that the average person? Yeah, don't want to know them. I'll work with them, but I don't want to hang around with them. And I'm not disrespecting them, but everything is vibration. An elevator goes down faster than it goes up. It takes energy and work to get your elevator up. So the most important thing that you'll ever do is to protect your vibration and your frequency, yes or no? So everything you eat, think, and drink, and who you hang around with, does it matter now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So anyways, let's hope we get around here, but I'll just tell you guys something. How many times have you experienced bloating, cramps, low back pain, kidney pain, bladder problems, okay? Inguinal hernia, okay? Anything going on here. Liver problems. Every time that you have any kind of pain in this area, you're growing scar tissue. You know, when I say to people, look at, if we do a wolf non-surgical, which will take us about 40 minutes on your abdomen, okay? I promise you that you will poop like never before. I promise you, you will digest your food so easily because you don't realize you've tied it up in knots. You've twisted it. You feel twisted in here sometimes, don't you? And that's because of the inflammation is causing scar tissue formation, which is dehydration. So you're twisting it all together, and every time that you inflame something and it stays that way for a while, guess what happens, guys? What happens? You make tons of mucus. And then because you don't look after yourself and you've got inflammation and you're making mucus, now it's a sticky little booger you're trying to get out. Can't get it out, it's in here. So now your intestines are sticking together. So now the inflammation creates scar tissue and adhesions. How many women here have had a cesarean? Okay, you're all toast unless you get wolf non-surgical. And I'll tell you something right now. Let's take someone this afternoon, okay? Somebody said they had 3 of them. Who had 3?
I had 4.
What? You had 4. So guess what? I will work on you, and you will go to everyone. I feel completely free. If there's a scar there and it's brown or it's black, when I'm done, it'll be pink. Remember something. With wolf non-surgical, we don't get rid of scar tissue. It's an absence of your frequency and light, blood flow, and lymph flow. When we return that, there is no scar. Where is the scar? Oh my God, it's gone. When I work on her, I will get rid of 80% of your scar tissue. And I'll do it in 20 minutes, on that 15, 20 minutes. You want me to see me do it? I'll do it. And then she's going to tell you, I feel free. Because when you move, you got to understand that surgery creates more scar tissue than anything else you can do in your life. So it will create adhesions that are just god-awful, and they will choke off your small intestine. They will jam your large intestine and small intestine together. They will wrap themselves around your pubic bone. They'll wrap themselves around and choke off your ovaries, your uterus. And for men, you get adhesions as well, and it'll choke off your bladder and your prostate. So we know that the Holy Grail really is the pelvis, but from your ribs down is where 85% of your energy is produced and stored. But guess what? Those of you who are flabby or bloated, okay. For every inch, okay, that you are bigger than you should be, right? All right? That's an extra foot you're digging in the grave. Understand that your love handles, okay, which I don't have any. I could tighten this up a little more, which I will. Being on the road for 8 months. Right now in this cottage, I will never do that again. Never. I can't even, unless it's sunny out, there's no room to even do my stretching. And I have to do it every day. So I haven't hardly done any here. I think I did 1 day or 2 days out on the deck. Because we're here all day, right? And I'm not going to dishonor myself like that. Because when I'm 95 years old, I'll be in better shape than most 30-year-olds. And I'll prove it too. It's not about being cocky. It's about we were all sold bullshit. The majority of the population is rotting to death. Yet, you know that anybody with halitosis is totally full of worms. You do know that, right? Anybody with bad breath, they have a manure pile rotting down in here. And anybody that is bad breath has worms, fungus, bad bacteria, right? Okay. And a little bit of fungus is okay in the body because fungus actually helps to what? Collect the heavy metals if you don't know how to get rid of it. And the best way to get rid of heavy metals is with black gold and black diamond. The best way to get rid of parasites is with black gold, black diamond. Best way to get rid of chemicals is black gold, black diamond. The best way to adjust your pH, whether it's in your blood, in your cells, or in your large intestine, is with black gold, black diamond. And that's the truth. And that's the science. And we are the only ones in the world that do not use chemicals to actually process our humic fulvic. So here we go. So we know that, yeah, you can have neck problems. You can have all kinds of problems. But just know this, when we untie a knot here and tie an adhesion, we save a life. Just know this, most women that have fertility problems, you need to understand whether it was caused because of the pill, but it wasn't, because guess what? Chemicals create infection and inflammation. Incorrect eating, it does that too. Improper bowel movements does that too, okay? A woman could actually go astray, okay, from her partner and then become infertile. Because everything is issues in the tissues, emotional. A woman could have a man go astray and she would go infertile. Why don't you go and take a look and watch the biggest study that was ever done when it comes to diseases in the body, all the way to stage 4 inflammation, which they call cancer. And then you go and watch that. It's called The Emotional Chemistry of Cancer, Disease, and Healing. And we'll talk about that tomorrow morning. And then you tell me that 1 and 1 are 11. They're not. You will hear the whole thing, see the whole thing laid out for you. Okay? Your emotional health will always supersede your physical health. It's more important. But when you work with patients, clients, whatever you want to call them, you will take a look at them and you'll go, okay, their personal health is about here. That's going to help you realize what you can do without scaring them off, because we need them to get to trust not just you, but they don't trust themselves. Give them something, and with most people, you got to give them something that's going to make them feel good right away, right? Because everybody's impatient. That's why everybody's a patient. And to do that, give them the daily cleansing tea and the black gold, even if nothing else. And tell them to do it twice a day. And tell them to call you. Tell them to read the directions and do it properly. And that we're looking for 2 to 3 bowel movements a day. You will win them. If they come to you for a Perfect Day Consult and they have a neck problem, give them a 5-minute, what we call spot check. If you know the non-surgical, just go work not even 5 minutes, 3 minutes. You will untie their neck better than anyone else. This is what you need to understand. Okay? Instant gratification is this inflammation nation. They're all druggies. They're druggies in their food, and they're druggies because they go and buy them. Okay? Yep. People are always talking about chemtrails. Meanwhile, every morning in the bathroom, they chemtrail themselves. It's the weirdest thing. It's like, can you just shut up? And I don't mean it in a nasty way. But they don't see what they do to themselves. And the reality is they want us to know that they're chemtrailing. Because guess what can you do about it? Get a ladder and clean up the skies? Why don't you just take that energy and start internalizing it, making it into unconditional love instead of conditional hate? I'm not keen on protesting. I'm keen on protesting in a way that you are loving and caring for yourself, and you've created your own little world that has just become the most beautiful, beautiful dream. Because your dreams are the only thing that matter. You don't get that yet. You've been taught that that's a selfish thing to live your dreams. When you start living your dreams, you'll allow other people to live their dreams. When we start living our dreams, this planet will become a dream. Okay? All right? We're going to take a break right now, and then we'll come back and we'll do the bowel chart. But I think that's enough for you to digest, right? All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a beautiful afternoon, and if you want, you can join us when I decide to stick my head up the other end. Bye now.